Sure you know the whole fucking thing that's going on with the Kyle Moose story.
But this is exactly what the public expects. They expect somebody to get out in front of it, don't cover it up, bring it to the attention, and make sure that they're heard loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that reeled in. I don't know. I've talked to Brad about it a couple times.
You heard the whole story about, I guess, guys on Brad's squad saying that Brad hit Kyle Moose with a car.
And I'll tell you what I was told on that. And just like I told Brad when he told.
Thank you for saving lives.
Brad came down to my office and wanted me to call in a detective to interview Moose. And I said, I'm not doing it. There's no.
This is unacceptable and not tolerable.
And he got irate. And I said, so I heard this chase. What was going on? He goes, well, I said, was he in a car? He goes, no, he was on foot. He was like on a bike. I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah, and he kind of ran into my car. And that's the way that he said it. He kind of ran into my car. So I said, oh.
Not only in this county, but throughout this country. Also, one of the big things that's really important to me about making I want to make Bullhead the most professional police force in the nation. And one of those things is training that we do. Thank you, Mr. Lucido. We're going to now show the video, and we'll run through it a couple times. There's absolutely a huge increase in major crimes, whether there be, murders, shootings, armed robberies. I mean, it's bad. It's no way to serve nor protect.
A Warren police officer charged for attacking a suspect at the city jail.
A security camera caught the whole thing as it happened. You see Officer Matthew Rodriguez hit that 19-year-old suspect and take him to the ground.
The commissioner called it a disgrace, and he went on to say that the video footage is sad and upsetting to every single member of the Warren Police Department. And he says Officer Rodriguez should be in jail.
Bam!
That reaction coming from Detroit's former assistant police chief, Steve Dolan, who was just as shocked as we were.
Thank you for saving lives.
To see a 19-year-old prisoner become a victim at the hands of an officer.
Okay, so you pretty much ran him over, and he didn't say anything. He goes, no, he ran into my car. Okay, whatever. I totally sidestepped that and went right back to, I'm not bringing a detective in.
But that's what Brad said?
Yeah, he said he ran into his car. And I said, and so, just so you know, I got called in by the...
It's sickening. And stuff like that says, this is why I don't trust you. It's bad. It's bad.
Watch Officer Matthew Rodriguez. You see him get up from a chair during the booking process. He and the prisoner, they exchange words. And then he hits the 19-year-old, slams him up against a wall into the ground. Within 6 seconds, the arresting officers rush in. Commissioner Dwyer says what you see now is their attempt to defuse the situation.
Captain.
Okay.
And the captain asked me, what do you know about this? And I told him, and he's like, and? I said, well, Brad said he ran into...
One of the officers reported saying, that's enough, that's enough.
...his car. But I said the one way to figure that out is go grab Brad's car and take a look at it, see if it's got a fucking paint transfer or any scuffs, because that's what they did with Clevenger.
Well, I initially, because when Garzone called me and said that the squad was... because he's on Graves on one side.
The assault continues as Rodriguez hits the 19-year-old again before pulling him out by his hair and his shirt and then throwing him into a jail cell.
Nobody, not even a police officer on duty, is above the law.
The two arresting officers report the incident to their supervisor, prompting an immediate internal investigation. Officer Rodriguez was placed on leave 3 hours later.
No duty to go ahead and do what exactly happened in the video.
Both Lucido and Commissioner Dwyer commending the actions of the arresting officers who spoke out against one of their own after witnessing something that wasn't right.
The men and women of this department, they do not deserve to be looked at as another Rodriguez.
Brad's on Graves on the other. So he said that Brad's squad was talking about the fact that Brad hit fucking Moose, causing Moose to crash, and then anyway, all through that he goes, and it's not in the report. And I'm like,
I never read the report, so I don't know what's in there.
Anyway, so I go, all right, and he's like, and I looked at the car, and of course I'm assuming that he's telling me because I'm in charge of the fleet, and the cars, and he's like, is there any damage to the car? I go, I don't know. He goes, well, Otero said there was like metal in the tire, and I'm not asking questions, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, is there metal in the tire from the fucking metal bicycle? I mean,
Yeah, you're
so
trying to put the piece-
I went, when I came into work, he goes, the car's already been to the garage. So I went over to the garage and talked to Mike and said,
over
hey,
at the garage.
On the floor, is that your methamphetamine?
No.
Where do you think it came from?
The dope
Do you-
fairy? I don't know.
do you- Well, maybe you're the fucking dope fairy if you want to get fucking funny about
She
it.
was sitting there, though. I mean,
I understand she was sitting there, so
you
stop
told me-
pussyfooting around about the
Okay,
questions.
but I mean, why?
it's already being repaired. Like the tire was flat, I guess. So I go, where? I talked to Mike, and Mike goes, yeah, there was a flat tire and there was metal in the tire. And I'm like, okay, well, where's the metal? What kind of metal was it? And it turns out it was like pieces of what looked like a razor blade. Which, and then I looked, yeah, and then I looked at the car, and you know, it's not the oldest Tahoe, but it's not the new. Well, it is the newest Tahoe we have, but there's like, you can't distinguish, and there's all kinds of little marks and shit along the car. So anyway, from there, knowing what I knew, I went and told Jason, hey, this is what Garzone told me, and if he hit the guy with the car, it's not in the report, and that's a fucking problem, you know.
I agree.
And then so Jason never went and like followed up on it. So I saw the captain and said, hey, do you know about this Kyle MOOS thing? So the captain's like, no. So I tell the captain goes, he leaves and then comes back like 30 minutes later. He's like, let me make sure I got this straight. Because according to Garzone, this was a thing where O'Connell told, not McConnell, O'Connell told Hill. Hill tells Garzone. Garzone looks into it. And of course, you know, there's no use of force done.
So is there a complaint filed?
I don't know. But then this morning, Garzone tells me that you and him were talking, and you had told Garzone that Brad had told you that Kyle ran into his car. So, from my perspective, okay, now, regardless of whether Brad runs into Kyle or Kyle runs into
It's still
Brad,
easily documented.
it's a crash,
Yeah.
and Kyle sustained injuries, either